Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's focus session on DNS settings for hosted websites and verified email domain. If you are able to hear me and see the presentation, please let me know in the chat. You can find that on the left side of your screen. There is a tab at the top that will allow you to go to chat. And if you don't see the chat on the left side, you can click on the text box icon at the bottom center of the screen, and that will bring that chat section up. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Paul and Cameron, for confirming that you can hear and see the presentation. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, so for today, I'm going to be talking about how to set up the DNS records for hosted websites. This is a little bit different depending on your domain name provider. So we'll go over a few different examples so that you can get a good idea of what this is going to look like when you log into the account where you purchased your domain name. And then I'll also be talking about how to set up a verified email domain and why you would want to do that. So first, let's talk about setting up DNS records for name.com. OwnerRez recently launched an integration, a partnership with name.com, so that if you purchase your domain name through name.com, you actually don't have to worry about setting up the DNS records at all. This will automatically be populated for you when you purchase your domain name. So in order for the DNS records to automatically populate, you do have to make sure that you use this link, name.com/OwnerRez, to purchase your domain. And it'll look like this. So you'll see the OwnerRez logo in the upper right. And then you can search for the domain name that you want to use, and they'll let you know if it's available or not. If it's available, you can go ahead and purchase it, and all your DNS records will automatically be added. So you don't have to do anything else. There are some other domain name providers that are very popular. So we're going to go through a couple of other examples. The example that I want to show you a live demonstration of is GoDaddy.com. And that's just because I happen to have a domain with them that I can use as an example. So to use GoDaddy, you would log into your account and you would see a list of all the different domain names that you own. This is similar for a lot of domain name providers. You're going to click on the domain that you want to set the records for. And then once you get to that domain name, you'll click on the DNS tab up here. And then to add DNS records, you're going to click on Add New Record. But before we do that, we're going to pull up the OwnerRez help article that talks about how to add DNS records for hosted websites. This article is called Hosted Websites Going Live with a Custom Domain Name. You can find this in our support center under websites, hosted websites, and then this article here. And if you don't want to have to follow that breadcrumb trail, you can actually just search for DNS settings, and this article will come up in the search results. Right here, going live with a custom domain name. And then the section of this help article that has the DNS records is right here. So these are the instructions we need to follow once we've logged into our domain name provider. First, we're going to remove any A-type records with the host name of @. So let me go into my GoDaddy account. And if I scroll down here, I can see that I have 3 DNS records that are A-type with the host name of @. So these are actually the correct settings, but normally the step to follow would be to delete these. So a lot of domain name providers will have a trash icon that you can click on, or you might have 3 vertical dots that you click on and then click delete. But basically you just want to get rid of any records that have an A-type and this @ symbol for the host name. Then you will click on Add New Record. And let's go back to our help article and see what we're supposed to do. Okay, we're going to be adding 3 A-type records with the host name of @. So we're going to go back into our domain name provider account, choose the type, which is A, put in the name, which is the @ symbol, and then we know we need 3 records. So I'm going to click this Add Another Value because they're all the same type and the same host name. And so I'm going to have 3 fields here. Most domain name providers don't have it like this. For most of them, you would be clicking on add more records and then choosing A and putting in the @ symbol here and the value. So the value is the IP address right here. So I'm going to copy this and paste it in here. And then I'm going to grab the second IP address, copy that, paste it in here. And the third IP address, same exact thing. Okay, so now I have all of my A-type records added, 3 A-type records with the host name of @. And now I'm going to create or edit my CNAME type record to make sure that it is pointing to hosted.ownerrez.com. And this one, the host name is going to be www. So let's pretend that I don't already have a CNAME type record. I already clicked on add more records, so I have this line here. I'm going to choose CNAME as the type, www for the name, and then the value is hosted.ownerrez.com. And then I would click on Save All Records. So those are the steps to follow if you need to add your DNS records from scratch in GoDaddy.com. For other domain name providers, it is similar. So I'm going to show you some screenshots to show you what that will look like. So I have an example from Namecheap.com. So if you use Namecheap, you would log into your Namecheap account, navigate over to your dashboard, and then you'll see a list of all your domain names. You'll click on Manage next to the domain name that you need to create the records for. And then you're going to click on Advanced DNS and then click on Add New Record. Of course, this would be after you'd already deleted any of these A records that we don't want anymore. You click on Add New Record, and then again, you're just going to basically do what I did with GoDaddy, where you're going to copy and paste the information out of these instructions and put it into your Namecheap account. Another example I wanted to show you all is from SiteGround.com. So if you purchase your domain name through SiteGround, you're going to log into your SiteGround account, navigate to Manage Domains. Again, you'll see a list of all the different domains that you own. So you'll click on Settings for the domain that you need to manage. And then you're going to click on this DNS Zone Editor tab. And then you will click on Add New Record. And after you click on Add New Record, you'll see a card that looks like this. And if you need to add the A-type records, you'll make sure you're on that A tab. And then you'll add each of these A-type records one by one. And then you'll add your CNAME type record. You'll click on the CNAME tab and add the CNAME type record that's mentioned here in step 3. And then you'll click Save on all of that or Create. And then you'll be all set with SiteGround.com. Now, once you have purchased your domain and you have set up your DNS records, there are a couple of things you need to do in OwnerRez to make sure that everything is going to talk back and forth. So from within your OwnerRez account, you'll go into the settings area and scroll down to My Website, click on Hosted Websites, and then click on the website that you are setting up. Click on Change Settings up at the top, and then make sure that you put the domain name here that you purchased. And then click Save. And once everything is talking to each other, you'll be able to click on the Check DNS. This may take a few hours. It sometimes takes overnight for everything to fully start talking back and forth to each other. But I would give it a few hours, and you can click on the Check DNS settings because this is just a fake example. This is saying it's not correctly configured. But if it had been correctly configured, you would see DNS is correctly configured here. And then the security certificate, which is what gives your website that HTTPS prefix, that is what takes a little bit longer to install. So the DNS settings should show up if they're correctly configured within a few hours. This sometimes takes longer or overnight to fully install. But once it is, you'll see this orange tag change to green, and it will say HTTPS enabled. The other thing that you'll want to do is make sure that you add your hosted website address to your theming. So under branding and legal in the settings area of your account, you'll click on theming and then click into your account theme, click the change button up at the top, and make sure that you've put your website address here in the business URL section. And then click save on that. And that will make it so your website address is linked in all the footers of emails that OwnerRez sends on your behalf, as well as the footer of forms and legal agreements. And if you're a PM, also in the footer of your owner statements. Make sure you update it in those two areas. And now let's talk about verified email domain. Oh, sorry, let me back up a little bit. So as I mentioned before, other domain name providers are going to be pretty similar. Again, this is the support article that you'll want to reference when you're setting those DNS records. If you're not able to figure out how to change the DNS records in your domain name provider, you can always reach out to their support team. This isn't something that OwnerRez can help you with because we don't have access to your domain name provider account, but you can reach out to their support team and you can share that article with them. Depending on the company that you use, they may actually just change the records for you, or they may be able to give you more specific instructions on how to access the DNS records and how to change them in their interface. So that's always kind of the fallback option there. Okay, so talking about verified email domain. So first of all, what is it? Verified email is when emails are sent from your domain name. So for instance, instead of an email address, an email being sent from like gmail.com, or in the case of emails that OwnerRez sends on your behalf, it comes from a generic email inquiry spot. And in order for OwnerRez to be able to send emails on your behalf that come from you, you have to verify your email domain in OwnerRez. So this would allow, let's just use the example of bestvacation.com. Let's say that you have an email address set up of info@bestvacation.com. Once you have verified the email domain for bestvacation.com, any emails that OwnerRez sends on your behalf will have the info@bestvacation.com in the from field on those emails. This is really important because having a verified email domain enables the emails that OwnerRez sends on your behalf to go into your guest's primary inbox more so than their spam or their junk. There's still a small chance that it would end up in their spam or their junk folder, but it's a lot more likely to end up in their primary inbox when it has that verified domain as the from address. So to set this up in OwnerRez, you're going to, again, go to the settings area, and it's going to be under branding and legal, verified email domains. You'll click on verify domain, put in your domain address. We'll just say bestvacationrental.com is your domain address, and then click save and view instructions. And then from here, you're going to need to add these DNS records to your domain account. So we'll use GoDaddy as the example again. Let me clear all of this. So we would go to wherever you go in your domain name provider account to manage your DNS records, and then click on add new record. And it's just going to be a matter of copying and pasting what you have on this page into your DNS records. So this is a TXT type. I'm going to use the copy button on the right to copy the host name. And so for the type, I'm choosing TXT. My host name goes here in this name field. And then I'm going to go back over here and grab my value, again, using that copy button. Go back to GoDaddy and put the value in there. And one thing that I forgot to mention earlier when I was showing the other DNS records is this TTL section over here. You'll see this in your domain name provider account. That's not something that you need to worry about. Just leave it set to whatever the default is. So basically ignore this TTL field. Then we're going to click add more records because we have one more to do. This CNAME type record. So again, I'm going to copy my host name and paste that in here. Choose the CNAME type. And then I have one more thing to copy and paste, which is that value. Copy that and paste that in here. And then I'll click Save All Records. And then that will verify my email domain. So once that has been done, you should see within a few minutes to a few hours that your email has been verified. And if you click on Verified Email Domains, it'll tell you here that it's verified. And again, that can take anywhere from a few minutes to a few hours. One thing that's really important is to make sure that when you enter your domain name, when you click on Verify Domain, that everything is spelled correctly and there are no spaces. You want to make sure it matches exactly what you have in your, what you purchased for your domain name. All right, so now you have your email verified. So OwnerRez can send emails on your behalf that'll be from your business domain name. The next thing that you need to do is you need to make sure that you have an email host. So this is where your actual email inbox is, so that when guests reply to emails, their emails go to this inbox. And then you can also use that inbox for other things as well, depending on who you share that email address with. So you need to get an email host. A lot of people use Gmail, and so when they're trying to decide on an email host for their business, they may just decide to go with Google because it's the same interface. But if you are not sure what to do for that, I recommend this article from Forbes, How to Get a Custom Email Domain. And you can just do a Google search for Forbes custom email domain, and that article will come up right here. And this article does a really great job of explaining what a custom email domain is and what the different hosting options are for your custom email domain. All right, so that brings us to the end of today's webinar. We talked about how to configure the DNS records for your hosted websites, and I showed you a few examples from different domain name providers. And then we also talked about how to set up a verified email domain and why you should consider doing that. We have a couple of relevant help articles that I wanted to point out. So the one that we looked at earlier, DNS settings for hosted websites, you can find that right here. And then DNS settings for verified email, you can find that here. Or you can always just use the search function in our support center to find either of these articles. All right, I'm going to check to see if we have any questions. It doesn't look like we do. If you thought of anything as we went along and you want to post that in the question section, you can go ahead and do that. It looks like Roxana is asking about the slugs in the hosted websites for blogs. So let me see if I have a hosted website example that has a blog. I'm not sure if I do. Give me 1 second here. Yes. Okay. So with the blog, let's say you're writing a post. The slug is what's going to be the web address for that that post. So let's say that your post is going to be, we'll just say things to do. You can choose what you want the slug to be. I'm pretty sure if you don't choose something, let me test this out real quick. I think the system will just create a slug for you. Let's see. No, maybe not. So what you would do then is just type in, maybe you just want to use the blog title as the slug. So just put that in there. And let's see. Then the things to do blog post is just going to be your website /blog/things-to-do. So that's what the slug is. You do not want to put commas in there. Commas are not recognized in web addresses. So when you choose the slug for it, you can use hyphens, or you can just not use any hyphens and just don't do any spaces. But the slug is part of the web address. So actually, let me see what happens if I do leave it blank. If you leave it blank, the system will just create the slug for you. So if you're not sure how to create them, just leave it blank and the system will create it for you. All right, it doesn't look like we have any other questions. I'll give you all a couple more minutes in case you think of anything. And while we're waiting to see if there are more questions, I just want to go over some of the resources that OwnerRez has available to you. So of course, we have our help desk team that you can reach at help@ownerrez.com. And then we have our support library, ownerrez.com/support. That's where you'll find all of our articles. We do also have a lot of support videos that you can find at ownerrez.com/support/videos. And then we have our forums. This is where you can post feature requests or questions and get feedback from us as well as other users, ownerrez.com/forums. We also have our blog where you can stay up to date on all of our latest updates, newest integrations and partnerships, and industry news, ownerrez.com/blog. And then we have our webinars page, ownerrez.com/webinars. And it looks like this. So you can see all of our upcoming webinars. I have another focus session coming up on the 30th when I will be talking about all the team communication tools that are available to you within OwnerRez. And then you can find all of our past focus sessions and then past webinars that we've done with partners. So it's a really great resource. Definitely be sure to check that out and take advantage of it. All right, I don't see any other questions. So thank you all for joining us today, and I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.